Imagine you are standing in the middle of a modern supermarket. In front of you is an aisle dedicated entirely to jam. There are not two or three options, but dozens. Strawberry, raspberry, blood orange, organic, low sugar, seedless, imported, artisanal. On paper, this is a triumph of civilization. We have conquered scarcity. We have achieved the ultimate dream of the Enlightenment, the absolute freedom to choose exactly what we want, down to the last pectin molecule. But as you stand there, something strange happens. Instead of feeling empowered, you feel a faint, gnawing pressure in your chest. You look at the jars and instead of seeing flavor, you see a series of potential mistakes. You spend 5 minutes comparing labels, eventually pick one at random, and walk away feeling not satisfied but slightly drained. And later, as you spread that jam on your toast, you can't help but wonder if the blackberry ginger variety would have been better. For most of human history, the common sense view of progress has been simple. More choice equals more freedom, and more freedom equals more welfare. It is the bedrock of our economic systems and our personal aspirations. We believe that if we can just expand the menu of our lives, more career paths, more potential partners on a screen, more places to live, more identities to inhabit, we will eventually find the perfect fit. We view choice as a ladder leading toward a peak of total self-actualization. If someone is unhappy, we assume they simply haven't found the right option yet, or they need more options to choose from. It is a logical, elegant, and deeply seductive framework. It suggests that the cure for our restlessness is always just one more choice away. But there is a glitch in the machine. If this more is better logic were true, we should be the most content generation to ever walk the earth. We have more agency over our daily lives than a medieval king. Yet the data tells a different story. Rates of clinical anxiety and depression are climbing in the most choice-rich societies. We are witnessing a peculiar phenomenon where the expansion of objective opportunities is leading to a subjective decline in well-being. This is the great modern paradox. As our options explode, our satisfaction implodes. We are finding that freedom, when pushed to its logical extreme, starts to look and feel a lot like a cage. To understand why this is happening, we have to look at the hidden tax that every choice levies on our psyche. The first tax is the sheer cognitive load of comparison. In a world of 3 choices, the mental labor is light. In a world of 1,000, the labor is exhaustive. But the deeper, more insidious mechanism is what economists call opportunity cost. Every time you make a choice, you are simultaneously rejecting every other possible alternative. When you choose one career, you are killing off 100 other potential versions of yourself. When you pick a movie to watch on a streaming service with 10,000 titles, the cost of that movie is the perceived value of the 9,999 films you didn't watch. This creates a psychological environment where good is no longer good enough. When there are infinite options, we subconsciously believe that the perfect option must exist somewhere in the pile. If we don't find it, we feel we have failed the test. This leads to a shift in how we process regret. In a world of limited choice, if you buy a pair of shoes and they hurt your feet, you blame the world. The manufacturer was bad, or the store had poor stock. You are disappointed, but your ego is intact. But in a world where you could have chosen from 5,000 pairs of shoes across 10 different websites, and the ones you picked hurt your feet, now you blame yourself. You had the opportunity to get it right, and you blew it. The proliferation of choice shifts the burden of failure from the world onto the individual. This is where the maximizer enters the scene. This is the person who cannot rest until they are certain they have found the absolute best option. They read every review, compare every spec, and scroll until their eyes ache. On the surface, the maximizer is the ultimate rational actor. But internally, they are a wreck. Even when they find a great result, they are haunted by the ghost of the better alternative. They are never fully present in their choice because their mind is always checking the perimeter of the options they left behind. They are successful in their selections, but miserable in their experience. Contrast this with the satisficer, a term coined to describe those who look for an option that meets a certain threshold of good, enough, and once they find it, they stop looking. To a maximizer, the satisficer looks like a quitter, someone settling for mediocrity. But the satisficer has discovered a secret, the time and emotional energy saved by not optimizing every micro decision is far more valuable than the marginal gain of finding the best jam or the best vacuum cleaner. They understand that perfection is a moving target that recedes the closer you get to it. Consider the landscape of modern romance. A few generations ago, Your choices were largely limited to the people in your town or your social circle. Today, the digital landscape offers a literal infinity of potential partners. We are told this is a liberation, but in practice, it often leads to a state of permanent browsing. Because we know there is another profile just one swipe away, we become less willing to invest in the flaws and frictions of the person standing right in front of us. We treat human connection like a software update, always waiting for the next version that might have fewer bugs. We are so afraid of settling that we end up wandering, never actually building the depth that only comes from closing the door on other options. The truth is that human satisfaction is not derived from the absence of constraints, but from the meaningful engagement with them. We are like artists who need the boundaries of a canvas to actually paint something. When the canvas is infinite in every direction, we don't paint. We just stare at the white space, paralyzed by the weight of what we could do. Total freedom is a vacuum, and nothing can grow in a vacuum. We need the friction of commitment to feel the traction of progress. So, how do we navigate this? The solution isn't to return to a world of scarcity. Nobody truly wants to go back to having only one kind of bread or one career path dictated by their father. Instead, we need a structural shift in how we perceive our own agency. The first cognitive tool is the art of voluntary constraint. This is the deliberate choice to limit your own options. It's choosing to only shop at one store or deciding that you will only look at 3 options before making a final call. It feels counterintuitive, but by narrowing the field, you lower the opportunity cost and silence the what-ifs. You are essentially protecting your future self from the exhaustion of the search. The second tool is learning to embrace the sunk cost of commitment. Modern culture frames perpetual flexibility as the height of strategic wisdom. But in reality, this refusal to commit functions as a form of self-imposed exile, keeping us safely detached from the very experiences that give life its substance. We're taught that staying flexible is a sign of intelligence. But in reality, if you never commit to one path, you never truly experience it. Real depth in a craft, in a relationship, in a community only begins at the point where you decide that you are no longer looking for an exit. It is the act of choosing to stop choosing that allows the roots of satisfaction to take hold. You have to be willing to be trapped by your choices to ever truly experience them. There's a final, uncomfortable reality we have to face. Much of our anxiety stems from the fact that we use choice as a way to avoid the finitude of life. We think that if we can just keep all the doors open, we can somehow avoid the passage of time. We treat our lives like a buffet where we are trying to taste everything. But a life spent tasting is a life without a meal. Every choice is a small death, a death of the other versions of you that could have been. And that's okay. Because a version of you that actually exists, with all its flaws and limitations and good enough decisions, is infinitely more valuable than 1,000 perfect versions of you that only exist as ghosts in a supermarket aisle. Next time you find yourself paralyzed by a menu or a career path or a screen full of icons, remember that the anxiety you feel isn't a sign that you need more information. It's a sign that you are reaching the limits of what the human brain was designed to handle. The most profound act of freedom you have left isn't the ability to pick the best thing from an infinite list. It is the ability to pick something, anything, and then have the courage to turn your back on the rest. We are not defined by the doors we keep open, but by the ones we are brave enough to close.